another episode of Talk to Ty, Real People, Real Talk, Real Life. I am your wonderful host, Tatiana Monet, coming in on another video a few days after, my goal. But hey, you know what? I'm still here, and thank y'all for continuing to rock with me. I hope that everybody was able to have some forward motion this past week. I really hope that everyone was able to navigate some things, get some things done, forge some healthy relationships, nourish and pour into themselves. I really hope that it was a season of giving back to yourself and to your circle and to what motivates you every day. Had to, have that little moment for y'all. So on this week's episode, I want to talk about something that is, I don't want to say it's near and dear to my heart, but it's something that I identify with my current situation wholeheartedly from top to bottom, A to Z. And that is being single with no kids as an adult 30-year-old. I wanted to talk about this because I have been having a lot of conversations with women lately, and even if the conversation stems from something else, it always finds itself navigating back to relationship status or what your life is like when you are single. A lot of women that I've been running into are newly single. They have just ended years long relationships. I mean, 5+ years. And that is something else that I can connect with too, because that was the relationship that I most recently came out of almost 2 years ago. It was half a decade of my life. And when I'm speaking to these women, different ages, different backgrounds, come from different places, it seems like we all tend to have the same thing in common, and it's that adjustment period from when you first exit a relationship. It's a very sensitive space to be in. And I say that because your guard is up, you are very alert, yet tainted. Your trust level with guys in particular, I know that people are dating more than guys nowadays, but to just speak on the conversations that I've been having with women, we have been dating men. So heterosexual, monogamous relationships. And not only is the trust level an issue or absent, but also being approached as a new single woman, or even if you've been single for a little while, like if there's other things going on, for instance, like with me, it feels like I just became single, even though I've been single for almost 2 years, because everything else that was going on took a front seat in my life for me to handle. My relationship status came second, rightfully so, because I had other like things that are life or death, obviously would take precedence over a relationship status, or at least it should. But that's neither here nor there. But just being approached and looking at the dating pool, looking at how we maneuver as single women. One thing in particular that stands out to me is when I am being approached by a male and they want to shake my hand. My father taught me how to do a firm grip. And it's a way not only to show respect, but to establish some sort of playing field with the person, like I'm on the same page as you. That way there's respect and also some dignity. Like I'm coming to the table with some type of credibility. And I stand on what I say, and I expect you to reciprocate that. I want you to respect me, and I'm going to respect you, type of thing. You shake a person's hand, you look them dead in their eye, you go from there. But what I'm finding is there's a lot of pressure being a single woman on how we are to respond when we're being approached. Me shaking hands, giving a firm handshake, the first thing that I get is, whoa, little mama or Miss Lady or whatever the term of endearment is. What you doing? That's a man's grip. Oh, okay, no. Next. Or what I've been running into being a single woman is I always get the question, why are you single? if I had, I mean, it's not like it was my doing. And I know some women can relate to that, where a lot of times we either had to leave our relationships because whatever was happening with that person, it was just, it was a point of no return, or that person just disappeared, like my situation. So getting that question over and over again, like, we women don't tend to ask that question to single men. Why are you single? We don't care because you're single already. So you are eligible. We can talk. Why? I do want to know that. Why do you males ask women, why are you single? I want to know. I mean, not every gem has been mined. You know what I mean? They don't belong to somebody. So that's the point of being single, you know? So just suck it up, soak in it, and move forward. Either take the opportunity to get to know this woman and frolic with her, or don't. But don't question her as to why she's single because of how she shows up. If she look like she got it together, she's attractive and all this other type of stuff, you never know what someone's story is. And I'm not saying that that's an inappropriate question to ask as you're getting to know someone, but if this is one of the first things that are coming out of your mouth, it kind of makes us take a step back for a second. Like, so I can't be single, I can't leave a situation that wasn't working for me. Like, what, where are you trying to go with this? Because a person who's really taken aback by you and wants to start a moment and create a vibe with you, they're not focused on how did you get here. They want to focus on, hey, when can we link up? When can we have some one-on-one time, go out and have an activity to do together or something like that? You know what I mean? So I don't know. And maybe it's a guy thing. I would like to know why that is. So if anybody wants to tap in and sprinkle a little bit of education on that, I would greatly appreciate it. But a lot of us are not fond of that question at all. Not when it's in that context. But if it's like a, I'm getting to know you, you getting to know me, we telling our stories, yes, of course. Very appropriate, is to be expected. Another thing about being single is dealing with being the only, if not one of the few people in your circle that are single. For me, majority of my best friends are in relationships. Like my best friends in Chicago, all of them have something going on. And I'm like, yay, I'm happy for you. If it was time to do like a couples thing, I'll be over here trying to find a roommate and be like, hey, somebody want to come with me? Because I don't have a significant other, or I'm not like dating an exclusive person, or even just dating someone where it's like, yeah, boo, bae, let's go do this. You know what I mean? So that's an adjustment, and I want women to know you're not alone in that. It's not a punishment. It's not like you are intentionally cast out or singled out because you're that friend who is not your turn to be on some couple type stuff with your friends. It's coming. It's just, not your season right now. But I can relate. I've been there. I do be there. You know what I mean? And what I would say is, because I've actually been on a cruise before, and majority of the people on that cruise were couples, but there were two of us that happened to be women. We were not in relationships, so we both roomed together, and we had a wonderful time. So there's ways to not count yourself out of stuff like that. That's couples trips. If you know you have your people that you can call up and be like, hey, you want to go on this trip with me? That way y'all couples could be over here doing y'all thing, and we could be over here exploring. And it be working. It be working like that. So that's another thing. Then I know for me, lifestyle is a big adjustment from being in a relationship to being single. When you're single, you don't have to consider this other person's thoughts, their feelings, their family, their circumstances, their situation. You don't have to consider any of that. It's literally all about you. Soak up that time while you can, because once you get with someone, you guys build together, have kids, whatever, you're going to have to divide more of your time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the fact. You are a priority among many priorities now. So enjoy this period where it's just you. And that's what I've been doing. Since I've been single, I've been committed faithfully to getting to know more of Tatiana and what that looks like for the woman I am now, because I make it a mission of mine to always grow and change and adapt. I just want to be better and better, because I feel like, why not? I love who I am, and I know that there's so much more to come. So that energizes me to want to work on me more, work on the things around me more, and always have some type of forward motion. Sometimes you can get caught up, and not just whether you're single or in a relationship, but sometimes you can get caught up in somebody that you care about and what y'all have going on, to where it distracts you from your path. And me spending this time with myself made me very aware of that. So now when I get into that next phase and I'm dating someone exclusively, and that leads to a full-blown relationship, I know what to be cognizant of. Okay, yes, I have this person in my life. Yes, we have this and this going on, but I still have a duty, a moral obligation to make sure that Tatiana is straight. Tatiana is still a priority, where my cup is never empty. It's always being filled. You can't always get a full grasp of who you are if you're always in a relationship. So to me, sometimes there is a beauty to being single, because you are able to really spend time examining yourself. And the more you pay attention to yourself, the more things start to come into perspective for you in regards to other people. I'm a firm believer in that. The more I sat with me and dealt with me, how I deal or don't deal with people has drastically changed. I mean, my loved ones speak on that all the time. Like, man, the old you would have jacked out, or man, you being a big person, friend, or you know what, Ty, like, I thought you would have acted this way, but you were actually the most calm, like, whatever. And I love those compliments. Granted, like, I love all phases of me, but to see the growth and to have others see the growth, and it's because I put in the work while I had that time to really focus on myself unconditionally. I was like, okay, that opportunity was forwarded to me while I was single, in a way where nothing else had to be considered. Because stuff like that can still be done when you're in a relationship. I do find that I had no excuse to not focus on me when I'm single. So in a way, that's a plus, because I deserve this time to myself. I deserve to come home and the house is exactly how I left it. I deserve to not worry about, is he gonna call me back, or he's late getting off work, or did he make it home safe, whatever. I deserve to open up my refrigerator and my favorite snack is still in there. I will say this though, being single can sometimes have its hang-ups, especially if you're like me, where you're not in your 20s anymore. You're in your 30s and you're on your own, no kids, and the dating pool is very questionable in Atlanta. But it's a mindset thing that happens too, especially if you did not have like a really great breakup, like an amicable one. I'll speak for myself on this. I became very guarded, very cautious. And that's because I felt vulnerable. I don't have a male figure to protect me. Granted, you can get a gun. You still got your A1 day ones that'll pull up for you, your family, all of that, But there's nothing like having a man, a real man, present. And sometimes just the very presence and essence of a man provides protection, even if the situation doesn't warrant protecting. That's something that I definitely do miss. There is a void there with that, because my ex, I never had to question my safety. Ever. Never. And that is something that we women really appreciate, if we can admit it. Because some women are like, oh no, I got it. No, I want him to have it. I want him to have me. I want to be straight. I don't want to have to worry about nothing. It could be complete chaos happening over here. He got it. He was like, nah, babe, I'll be over there in a minute. Okay, cool, great, love you, bye. Now, granted, if you need me, come on, I got you. What's up? Don't mess with my king, But there's nothing like having a man be there to support you and to just show you another avenue of your queendom. It'd be a dope feeling. Now, when you don't have that anymore because you're single, like me, that at one point was a culture shock, because I was under this umbrella of protection for half a decade. Coming out of that, I had to find and embrace a whole new way of protecting myself, providing security, and shifting to a different element in my queendom, because there's no king present. We ain't talking about the Lord. We ain't talking about that. We talking about intimate relationships with a significant other. So what that could look like for a single female is, when we walk in, our purse is clenched, we looking over our shoulder, we really not trying to, like, we focused on certain things, but our peripheral is very well aware, like our senses are heightened. But we ain't trying to do all this talking. Like, if I'm getting out of my car and I'm trying to go into a building, that's not the time to try to talk to me, because I'm trying to make sure my back is covered. I'm looking around. I'm make sure I don't get ran up on or nothing like that, because the world is crazy. I'm trying to make sure I don't have to shank somebody. So, or whatever line of defense that would rightfully be mine if somebody invaded my personal space. But just, and even how other people, or men in particular, treat women in their single phase, it hits different. Because when I was in my relationship, I could easily be like, oh, okay, you on the street and you mad at me because of whatever. You know how sometimes you just get into it with somebody outside or whatever. I got somebody to call who's gonna be here any minute. But when it's just you, it's like, you gotta think differently. And even how we live, alone, like, if you, especially if you have kids or something like that, like, we just have to maneuver a certain type of way. There's a certain level of independence that comes with us being single. And what I've also been realizing is that sometimes that is a deterrent from men. Like, I got fussed at a couple times because I had grabbed my own door. And I was like, well, it's not always easy for me to turn off my independence to make room for your chivalry. So I'm grateful for it. Thank you very much. But give me grace. Bear with me, because anytime I'm not in a relationship, it's just me. I have to make sure I'm straight. I have to open my door. I have to pull out my chair. I have to pay my bill. I have to get my car fixed. Those are my responsibilities. So that's an aspect of being single that I sometimes have, I don't want to say unfavorable, but they're abnormal experiences where men will kind of look and they will deem women like me masculine in a sense, or trying to like be the man. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is at all. It's I first of all, you just got here, if you're even here. Don't know how long you're gonna be here. And regardless of the fact, I have to make sure I'm straight. I don't just automatically assume that every person I encounter has my best interest at heart. I'm not wired like that at the present time. And I'm not ashamed. So, be that as it may, if I have to do something for myself, or if I'm talking to you with authority and sternness, or if I'm quick to speak on a matter, or and I'm not being submissive or vulnerable or whatever, it's because I have to have me in every which way at all times. And until someone else can come and support that and heighten that, I'm not gonna compromise on something like that. So yeah, you might have to stop me and say, hey, I got it. Okay, cool. I appreciate you. Like even at work, I be lifting heavy stuff. Part of that, side note, is because my father, rest his soul, he always had me helping him with his equipment. My dad was a self-taught chef and DJ. So my dad did a bunch of things. Like he always found a way to just make a move. You know what I mean? And I really admire that about my father. And to exercise brevity, he would have me lifting his speaker amps. Little old me. If y'all have seen me in person, y'all know I am of a very short stature. I am petite. I'm a little slim, thick, curvy, petite little thing. And my dad had me lifting speakers, lifting amps, carrying equipment, cases, and all of this other type of stuff. And he would make sure I would figure it out on my own how to carry it. To this day, I have that mentality. Like if I'm getting groceries, I'm not finna make 1,001 trips to and from the car. I'm finna line all them grocery bags up my arms, and I'm gonna unpack my car at one time, and I'm gonna bring all of that stuff into the house to the point where the bags is creating line indentations on my arms. But I'm not finna go back out there. Or if I'm leaving out the house at night, I have some type of light on, I'm on the phone with someone, or I'm going somewhere where I'm not about to be alone. My mind has to be different because there's an absence of a man there. With being single and being a woman in her 30s, early 30s, what is also a complication is trying to find attractive men that are born men and that are not bisexual or homosexual, and they're strictly heterosexual, that are equally yoked. And for me, I would prefer that they don't have kids. I don't have kids. When I do have my children, I want our children to be each other's first kids. I want to go through all of the learning curve stuff with my mate. Will that happen? Who knows? But it's definitely my preference. And everybody out here procreating. That's just science and life. We are a very expressive species in the form of physicality. So the likelihood of me running into someone that hits those ticks, it slims out the older I get, to say the least. And it's crazy because other women are saying the same thing. And then not to mention, there's more women than there are men in certain cities. Because I actually did research on the average of men and women in America, and it's legit like 49 to 51. So it's not like double like how we think it is anymore, unless depending on what city you live in. But the United States as a whole, it is almost 50-50. There's almost as many men as there is women. But in Atlanta, oh baby. And that's why I listed the criteria that I listed, because I'm in Atlanta. So who I want to date, which is my rightful preference, someone who doesn't have kids. And now if he's been married before, okay, that's fine. You know, as long as he ain't married now, we ain't got time for that. But preferably no kids. Now, these two things are not a preference. They are concrete. I'm not bending or breaking on these things. It has to be so. You have to have been born a male. You have an X and a Y chromosome. And you cannot have been gay or bisexual. That's just my preference. I fully embrace and have a lot of friends in the LGBT community. I don't always say Q because I'm still trying to understand. But yeah, I don't want someone as my mate that is of that community. That's my preference. And so to find a man like that who's also attractive and has a solid foundation like I do, equally yoked. I'm not staying with my mama. I'm not staying with my baby daddy. I don't have a baby daddy. I have a job. I have a vehicle. I'm paying my bills. You know what I mean? I want someone like that. And that looks attractive. It's kind of hard when you have a lot of sisters going after the same thing that you're going after. It's kind of like every woman in America who is a size 8 in shoes. That's a good way to explain it. Because every time I go, they're slim pickings. It's like you just have to go right when the shoe is fresh in the store. Go get that shoe. Don't wait on it. Because it's gonna go. Like literally size 8 is like the most common female shoe. So, and I have an 8. Like me and my friends, we all, one of them wears a 7.5 or a 7 or whatever. But yeah, we all could wear each other's shoes for the most part, except like maybe one of my other friends. But yeah, so it's like, it's very common. Granted, it's good in those instances where we could swap, but you know, just think about the dating pool. I ain't swapping. These ain't shoes. So, and then another aspect of being single that I'm still adjusting to is the loneliness behind it. Granted, do I love my me time and not having to worry about nobody? I promise you I do, with every fiber of my soul. There are times though that, because I like to take myself places. I travel. I date me. I love getting to know more and more of who I am and just exposing myself to stuff and not waiting on people to do things. So with me being single, I don't hesitate if I want to take myself to the show. That's the movies for all of you guys who are not from Chicago or the Midwest. We call it the show. So I go to the show. I take myself out to eat. I've taken myself on trips like to the mountains and stuff like that. You know, and when you're doing those things, you want to just look over to the side and be like, wasn't that fun? But ain't nobody going to be there. You ain't talking to nobody because you ain't got nobody. That gets me. Or, you know, sometimes I'll see people doing the matching outfits or the couples trips, you know, stuff like that. And so there is a big part of being single where I yearn to have that companionship with somebody that's on the same page as me. We both in this thing and we doing it together. You know what I mean? So that's been very difficult to navigate when, especially depending on the season, everybody is dating. Like everybody has somebody and somebody that they like. That's the thing too. Like, trust and believe you me. If I didn't have any standards or if I was willing to bend on quite a few of my preferences, I for sure would be in a whole relationship right now. But I want to like the relationship that I have, and I want to have feelings for the person that I'm in the relationship with. And me getting that understanding was even more solidified the more I spent time with myself. Because now it's kind of like when you are ordering off of a menu and you see the ingredients, and so based on what the ingredients detail, you know whether or not you're going to gravitate to that dish or consider it as an option. It's the same thing when I'm running into men nowadays. It's like I'm seeing your ingredients even if you're not listing them. Just how you popping up in front of me, my first impression, our interaction, I'm able to be like, hell to the no. I'm gonna dodge this bullet while I can. Or, not too bad. Maybe. We'll see. Or heck yeah, sign me up. So that's a process. Some people are really good at covering up who they are. They want their representatives to show up first. And a lot of times, men who are not available go after single women. I'm not saying every time. But if they're in a gray area or they got something funny going on, they are going to places where single women be at. Don't do that. That ain't right. And in my opinion, I think that the mentality behind doing so is because a single woman ain't got nothing else to worry about, so her attention can be focused on you. It would be easier to get her on your time versus you trying to get on her time. Granted, that could not be the case, but when you look at, if you had woman A and man B, think about it. Like, who has more time on their hands to conform to another person's situation? It's the single person, because they don't have no one to respond to, nothing like that. They have nothing to consider, none of that. So, yeah, just knock that off. Don't do it. I don't like it. Leave us alone. That way our dating pool could be more refined. Just be honest with yourself, or start a club for people like you, and then y'all can go and frolic together. And it's a little surprise if you're watching the video version of this episode, you see Miss Layla. Layla just had her 4th birthday. Can I turn you around? Let me turn you around. And if you are listening to the audio version on Apple Podcasts, my wonderful dog / dogder / service animal, Layla, just came and, popped into the camera. So, yes, I love this girl to death, and we're definitely going to celebrate her birthday this weekend at the park. I'm going to dress her up, take pictures of her, and just love on her, because she deserves it. Just like how she's showing me love right now. I'm definitely going to make sure I reciprocate. Anyway, but yeah, just that loneliness of not having somebody to share moments with you, build habits with you, somebody that you can love on. I like loving on people. So when I date, I'm sure that the 2 boyfriends I've had, because I had an adult boyfriend for half a decade, and then I had a boyfriend when I was in like high school and elementary school. We dated on and off for a number of years. So for me to be a girlfriend in those 2 relationships, I'm certain that my exes would be like, oh, she's very nurturing, she's very endearing. I did endure a lot, but very endearing. Like, I like to love on my man, and granted, I can turn that energy to myself being single, but sometimes I crave wanting to do something for my man, my Invisa King, because he's not here. I don't have him yet. Side note, I've heard about single women praying about their husbands and actually like setting up for them before they get them. One example that I heard of was women writing letters to their husband. They don't know who they are yet or anything, but I guess they're a, how if you're in sales, you assume the sale, you're telling this person they're about to buy it, and so they buy it. It's kind of like that. Like, he coming, and you're preparing a place for him, you know, and you're speaking your intentions on paper. I haven't done that yet, but when I have been in my prayer room a couple of times, I have made mention to God, like, hey, you know, whether I know him already or if I have yet to meet him, you know, I just want to make sure that this is a person I can feel safe with. This is a person that does believe in you, you know, like my sacred prayer to God. But the note writing, I've considered it. I haven't done it yet. Partly because I'm still adjusting to being single. I haven't been single very long, especially because I was processing another another grievance for a year before I had the mental ability and willingness to now focus on me being single. But yes, I do want to spend time with someone familiar and on a regular basis and share moments with them. And so I think that when you're single, that exclusivity is missing. Granted, it could be a perk if you don't want to be tied down. That is an aspect of being single that I do appreciate. I can sit here and hang out with somebody and not see them for weeks, a month, couple months, whatever. And it ain't no smoke. I appreciate that when I need it, because sometimes you just want to hang out with the opposite sex, no strings attached. You ain't even got to do anything physical. You can go to the park, you can go play sports or rock climb or go to the show just to spend time with somebody with some testosterone, because it ain't nothing like a man. I'm gonna tell y'all that. Sometimes that's necessary and I think essential when you're being single. I know some women that when they're single, they don't even want to look at the opposite sex. They're just so wrapped up in whatever stage of their healing process that they don't even want to entertain the thought of a man. I'm not in that space. I can see why some single women are, because a lot of bruising can happen right before you become single. And once you are single, that's when that band-aid is applied. So when you think of that, a band-aid covers up something. Yes, it's healing, but it's not exposed to any outside restraining forces. It's not susceptible to the elements. It's protected, yet separated from everything else going on around it. And you kind of don't know what's under there. You know, when you peeling back a band-aid, you are kind of curious in a sense, because you don't fully know how it's looking until you rip it off and go through that pain to see what the end result is. And a lot of times being a single woman can feel like that. In another sense, me being single and in my 30s with no kids, it is so liberating, y'all. Just exploring my womanhood unapologetically, uninterrupted, on my terms, 24/7. It is such a beautiful thing, because how I said about dating myself, I have actually incorporated that into my self-care. You know, and even if it's a date at home, like I'm making myself a nice meal, I'm putting it on my nice, I don't want to call it china, but I'm putting it on my nice dinnerware, you know, whatever. Or if I'm dressing up to take myself somewhere, like it's such a it's such another way to show love and appreciation, because then what that ultimately does is it makes it a formidable condition for whoever comes along in your life. Like, this is how I treat myself. So if you can't at least do this, your presence is not required. Yeah. Me being single has really helped me refine my standards on what I do as far as my interactions with other people. And actually goes beyond a relationship. Just me dealing with certain interactions in various situations, my mindset is different. Because I'm like, okay, I have to think a certain type of way to make sure I'm good in this relationship. I can apply those same mental concepts to how I deal with other people, especially if it's a man. Like men in the workplace, I don't tolerate them doing certain things or saying certain things to me. And if anything, I kind of come back at them like I'm a whole dude. I'm not sorry. I become my own dude. So, and it kind of eliminates another male from thinking that he can take advantage. Because one thing for sure is a lot of us women that are single, we're not these damsels in distress that need rescuing. We're not playing hard to get. It's like, no, I'm not playing. I am. I am hard to get. I am the prize. I am a gem. I matter. And if you can handle what this comes with, you're going to get a love and support and a teammate like you've never seen in your life. Because I've been able to show up like that for myself. So I know if I have that to give to myself, I know I can give that to somebody else. One of my, I'll say counterparts at my job, because they're technically not my co-worker, they had pointed out a song to me. It's one that many of us are quite familiar with. It's by Earth, Wind, and Fire. You Can't Hide Love, or something like that. And granted, we all listen to the song and know the beat and everything like that. But when he told me to really listen to it, I was like, wait a minute. They were talking about some stuff back in the day. The main message that I got from that was, you can't give what you've never had. And that translated to me on my journey of being a single woman with no kids. For y'all hear some if the mic is picking up this noise, it's my neighbor upstairs. So don't worry, it's not like feedback or anything from the mic. I actually did tell my neighbor that sometimes you can hear her on the video, and I sent her the link to my podcast so that she can listen to the content of the show. And if she happens to come across a video where I'm mentioning it, it's like, this is why I be texting sometimes, like, hey, I'm recording. So if she happens to catch this episode, hi neighbor, how you doing? Thank you for being you. And I'm glad that we're in a space where we can actually talk about it, where I'm like, hey, I can hear you, you know. But anyway, yeah, so if you don't have something, you can't give it. And how that presents itself in my life of being a single woman with no kids is, if somebody can't do something for me, because mind you, we are very independent. If somebody can't do something for me, it's because they don't have it to give to me. I have to accept the things that I cannot change. And if you know the rest of the serenity prayer, the courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, you know. So that also allowed me to look at how I got to be single. There were things that this person did not have themselves, so they couldn't give it to me. That means instead of me looking at my situation from a negative light, where it's like, did I do something? Or, you know, this person didn't care enough. It's like sometimes people are just not equipped. They're not equipped. And in another light, that also can apply to women who choose not to be single. I'll explain. Sometimes you come across women, or I have come across women who they are never alone. Every time they finish a relationship, they turn around and start a new one. They have not spent any time loving on themselves, pouring into themselves, just giving themselves time to be an individual, for God's sakes. And when I look at women like that, or look at women who are so committed to being single that they're like, I don't want room for nobody else. Not to say you got to get married or anything, but they don't want no counterpart. They literally just want to be an asexual individual just out here. Like, they don't want anything intimate, none of that. It's like, okay, even though I don't identify with those women and how they think in regards to this situation, what connects all of this together with a person not having something so they can't give it, if you don't have love for yourself, you can't get it from other people. So if you're always in these relationships because you don't know what to do with yourself, it's because you don't currently possess what is necessary for you to be able, like, you don't have it. So because you don't have it, you can't give that back out to yourself or to the person you're in your relationship with, which is why you keep rotating through them. And then in the other aspect, if you can't give yourself enough love to understand that you deserve love, then you can't get it, because you won't be receptive to someone trying to show you love back, because you don't have the love for yourself or the love for other people. It's a lot. There are so many layers to being a single woman with no kids. And there's a stigma as well, too. For instance, men who are single, if they were to frolic and procreate all over the place, sometimes they're actually praised for it, and other times it's just accepted, like, oh, they're a hoe. Okay, so what? Let a woman go ahead and do that. Single. Mind you, same circumstance. Single, no obligations. But her doing it, she's a hoe. I say that to bring this point up with the hypocrisy that sometimes, and the stereotypes that sometimes, and the double-edged sword that come up with being single. You men are out here freaking on the females. So if you freaking on the females in abundance, then how do you not expect to increase this woman's body count by you increasing yours? I mean, just think the science, 1 + 1. Come on. Make some sense out of this, please. Or I've also gotten stereotyped with, oh, you must have did something to the man, or you must be crazy, or you must be real difficult. That's why you're single. And I'm like, what? You don't even know my story. Not that you need to, but the fact that that is what some brainwashed people are conditioned to think, is that you're single by punishment. Who told you that? You nut. I think that's so stupid. Like, who thinks like that? Like, oh, you're single because you ruined everything. This is your fault. Granted, does that apply to some people? Absolutely. Men and women. It applies. But not everybody, y'all. Don't generalize that. That's not fair, and you gotta sit with yourself and figure out why whoever hurt you, figure out how you can get around that. And why you think like that. Part of me is ready to transition out of being single, but another part of it is so excited for what's next, as far as where am I growing into in my womanhood as a single woman, finding ways to love on myself even more, and just explore this world while I don't have to worry about a babysitter, or oh, can both of us be off work at the same time, you know. And not to say that those are bad things, but while I have this opportunity to just be all about Todd, I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and I'm loving it. I really, really am. I really am. I can watch my Harry Potter movies as many times as I want to without hearing anybody's mouth. I can walk around the house with little to no clothes on without somebody trying to touch on me. You know, I do appreciate those moments. I do encourage women who are currently single, find a positive. Instead of looking at it as why is this happening to you, look at it as why is this happening for you. Granted, if you're a person that's into holidays like I am, you may sometimes feel a certain type of way, like on Valentine's Day or Sweetest Day, you know, or whatever have you. But use that moment to turn it into an opportunity to really shower yourself with whatever form of love you can, whether that's going to the spa, or getting your a mani pedi, or taking yourself shopping, or spending time at home just enjoying what you've worked so hard for. I mean, whatever, you know. But I challenge you women to find the beauty in being single. Network and team up with other women who are single, and you guys can share your stories together. That's what I've been doing, and it's turning into a really beautiful thing, because I'm able to sit in a room with women who I can relate to. That's already an icebreaker. It's like, okay, this person understands. So sometimes, a lot of times, what's understood don't have to be explained. So we can just move forward with whatever the focal point of us getting together is. You know what I mean? And just doing things on your time. Like, really soak that up. And then another thing that I want to challenge women to do that are single is, don't allow it to make you bitter. Don't be that one friend that's always complaining about not having somebody. Or, because at one point that was me. And I had to figure out, like, why do I yearn for companionship so much? And it's because I really love my loved ones. And one of the things that I value is, and I guess it's one of my love languages, is quality time. So I'm built like that. That's how I currently show up. So that's why it hits me a certain type of way. But how do I counter that? Okay, I find ways to spend quality time with my people. I find ways to spend quality time with myself or my dog. That way, it helps the process smooth itself out. And while I'm sitting here focusing on myself, how people say is, you find something when you least expect it, when you're not really looking for it. I will say this though too. A lot of people who are into manifesting, they will say, will it to you. So depending on how you're built, either will to you what you want and manifest it, or don't be so hyper focused on it that it consumes you, and just pour into what you can, and it'll come to you when you least expect it. Either one of those. I do hope that me sharing a glimpse into my life as a single woman with no kids has been enlightening. I know I didn't touch on the kid topic as much. Part of that is because I'm still going through a phase of healing by not having children, because I got an abortion when I was still in my relationship. And so not and then I got my abortion before my father passed. So that is another thing that I'm still working through emotionally. And even for me to be able to sit up here today and speak on that, granted, I'm a very honest and communicative person, but to be able to share intimate detail like that, that's a big step for me, and I'm very proud of myself. I'm in a space now where I'm not ashamed. I used to not even be able to articulate those words. So now I'm in a space where I can, because by me spending time with myself, I'm in a place where I'm giving myself more grace, more respect, more love, more forgiveness. And because I'm able to start forgiving myself for certain things, it's helping me forgive other people for things that they have said or done to me, whether they're aware of it or not. So that's why I didn't touch on the no kids part as much. I definitely do want kids. I actually want 4 kids, and it's quite funny why. Because if they ever had to vote on something, I wouldn't want it to be an odd number. And I don't want just 2 kids. So I'm like, because if two is not enough and 3 is an odd number, I'm like, okay, 4 is good. I don't want 5. 4 is fine. Preferably a set of twins. But anyway, that's a little bit more about me. And I will, in a future video, I don't want to say explain, but just I want to get more in depth, because it doesn't necessarily have to be me defining, but I do want to go in depth more just about women and abortion. I really do, because so many people who cannot bear children, so it's not people, it's men. I was trying to be funny, are speaking on something that it's my body. Now, granted, if you're having a kid with your significant other, that's a decision for the both of you to come up with. But to just create laws and stuff, you're going too far. So, because there is so much tension with the abortion topic, I'm in a place now, because I have gotten an abortion before, one, and I was like, oh my goodness, that was a lot for me. It's a lot that comes with that, being a woman, especially if you're a single female and you see people with their families and stuff like that, and it's like, ooh, I want to be able to talk about that in another video. So stay tuned for that. I'm not sure if it'll be the next one, but it will be one that I'll do very soon, definitely before the summer is over. But I actually want to have more than just me on that episode, and I also feel like if I had someone in the medical field present, then they can help tie things in another way. So, but also I want you guys to know that there's going to be some good content and experiences to come on this show. I've kind of mapped out how I want the year to go for this season, because I'm getting back into the habit of podcasting. It's more of a one-on-one with me and the camera conversation now, but this thing is about to get bigger. It's definitely going to elevate, not only just with my guests, but with what is being done during the podcast. So not just words anymore, things are going to be put into action. So you're going to see a lot of cool, fun, and creative things, because my whole purpose of doing stuff like this is to promote creative and holistic wellness. That is my thing. I feel like that connects to any and everything and any and everyone, and I want it to finally be something that can be seen and felt and heard. So I hope that you stick around for that. Actually, I know you will, because I'm going to manifest in that and speak on it and stand on my business. So thank y'all for tuning in to this episode of Talk to Tot, where we went over the single life of a woman with no kids in her 30s. I hope that I was able to share some things that you guys can relate to. If you guys want to chime in, or if you want to throw out some topics for me to talk about on the show, feel free to comment. I also want you to like, follow, and subscribe. This is streaming on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. You can also follow the podcast on Instagram at _talk-to-tot, or my TikTok, which is Tatiana_Monet, or my Instagram, which is Tatiana Monet. So until next time, this is your girl Tatiana Monet signing out. I love you. I appreciate you. And God bless.